welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, so the Champions League draw has been made. Yeah, I will do a Champions League predictions video next week, but right now, let's take a look at every footballer who's been drawn against their former club in the competition this year. And surprisingly, lads, there's absolutely loads. Right, let's go. Lucas Hernandez, Bayern Munich. Lucas Hernandez might be quite embarrassed to return to Atletico Madrid this season. This was a guy who was seen as Atletico's biggest asset when they sold him for 80 million euros to Bayern Munich last year. Sure, in his first German season, he won the treble. It sounds like a success, right? Now, when he returns to Spain and the Champions League this season, he'll most likely be stuffed on the bench. In his place is Alphonso Davies, a guy who absolutely ripped Nelson Semedo's bowels out his mouth, single-handedly flushing his European career down the toilet, making him look so bad he was forced to swap a change room with Messi for a change room with Connor Cody. Pretty sure that one stinks of creatine dumps. Anyway, everybody associated with the Bayern would have loved Davies running the show that night, right? No, I'm pretty sure Hernandez felt like ironing his own face. Achraf Hakimi, Inter Milan. Speaking of personal undeserved Champions League wins, here's Achraf Hakimi, another left back who picked up a European medal for Real Madrid in 2018 as a virtual cheerleader. Anyway, after spending 14 years on the books of Real Madrid, Hakimi was finally flogged for 40 million euros. So basically, all those years of grinding in the academy, being sold the dream of playing for the biggest club on planet Earth, Madrid were simply just raising him to flog for a big paycheck. So when he returns to the Bernabeu with Inter Milan this season, you're damn right this Moroccan international is going to die for a win. Essentially shove two fingers up the nose of the Madrid hierarchy, who allowed him less than 10 league games in Spain. Valentino Lazaro, Borussia Mönchengladbach. I'll admit it, when Valentino Lazaro was struggling to get off Steve Bruce's bench at Newcastle last season, I did not expect him to spend this year in the goddamn Champions League. But this is Newcastle. I mean, let's not forget Florian Thauvin, barely featured for a god-awful team on the way to relegation under Steve McClaren. 2 years later, and he's a world champion, keeping Anthony Martial out of the French squad. Lads. Anyway, this is weird because Valentino Lazaro, a 24-year-old Australian wing-back, is technically still an Inter Milan player, just out on loan at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they just happen to be in Group B together. Surely they must have put in his contract that he can't play against them, surely. But then again, this is the same club who see their title rival sign Ronaldo and respond by filling their team with Ashley Young, Victor Moses and a nearly 40-year-old Kolarov. Clearly the hierarchy of that club were dropped on their head at birth. Ivan Marcano, FC Porto. And now on to Group C. And Ivan Marcano is a Spanish defender who spent his life playing out of a suitcase. This 33-year-old has moved clubs 8 times in his career, so he was bound to feature in this list. This guy plays in a Porto defence with Chancellor Mbemba. You might remember him as the fellow who found himself behind Grant Hanley and Rafa Benitez's Newcastle pecking order. Surprised he didn't immediately retire out of shame. Anyway, in 2012, while Marcano was on the books of Villarreal, Ernesto Valverde signed him on loan for Olympiacos. They won the league, finished third in their Champions League group, above Jurgen Klopp's Borussia Dortmund I might add, and they also beat Arsenal at home. It was a good season. He had a second 7-game loan spell in 2014, and now he's returning to play against them with Porto, Benjamin Mendy, Man City. Okay, I'm still trying to work out how Benjamin Mendy has survived this long at Manchester City. You would have thought after having his ankles and knees chewed into sticky butter, spending 2 years in a hospital bed, that City would have chucked him in a bin already. Also, the fact he's yet to score a single goal for City in any competition, it kind of makes you wonder, why do people keep picking him for Fantasy League? Please, put down the shampoo bottle and just pick Stuart Dallas. Anyway, it wasn't actually Monaco where Mendy made his name. Don't forget, he played over 100 games for Marseille between 2013 and 2016, finishing second in the league, being shortlisted for the Golden Boy Award in 2014, and playing under the likes of Marcelo Bielsa. Anyway, he returns to the Stade Velodrome with City this season. Should be a routine away win. Jose Sa, Olympiacos. Good old Jose Sa, Olympiacos' first choice 27-year-old goalkeeper. Now, travelling to the Etihad and facing City's attacking talent in this group, it sounds about as much fun as shoving your tongue in a lawnmower. Anyway, he was actually snapped up by Porto in 2016, was second choice to Iker Casillas, and was finally given his chance at the Champions League, and just like Loris Karius, chucked his career prospects in a bin, conceding a combined 8 goals in 2 games against RB Leipzig and Liverpool. So now, after being spat out to Olympiacos like an empty Actimel pot, he's returning to Portugal off the back of 18 clean sheets last season. He'll probably want to show his former employers that no, contrary to Portuguese opinion, he doesn't have all the reflexes of a traffic cone. Matthew Valbuena, Olympiacos. Everyone remember Matthew Valbuena? The much-travelled French attacking midfielder who probably can't reach the top shelf in Tesco. I remember this guy scoring winners in this competition at Anfield back in 2007. The fact he's still playing Champions League football 13 years later at 36 years of age, fair play. This is a guy with more French caps than Eric Cantona, N'Golo Kante and Samir Nasri. Put some respect on Valbuena's name. He also scored the winning goal against England at Wembley 10 years ago. You know, the game where the Irish fell out of One Direction wore an England shirt. Never ever forget. Bet his favourite player is Declan Rice and all. Anyway, he's out in Greece with Olympiacos and gets to return to Marseille, a club he left in 2014 after 8 years, over 300 games, nearly 40 goals and a league title win. They've even retired his number 28 shirt. But the club might have paid respect, but considering he signed for Lyon in 2015, Marseille fans spent the next 2 years hurling abuse and empty bottles of milk, so he's probably secretly praying crowds won't be allowed back in the stadium this year. Because if they are, oh, the man should probably turn up in a bulletproof vest. Kostas Mitroglou, Marseille. Remember Kostas Mitroglou, the guy who scored goals everywhere in Europe but Fulham. To be fair, he was only given 3 games in a relegation scrap. Anyway, this former Olympiacos goal machine, having rattled in 81 goals for them prior to a 2015 switch to Benfica, he's now heading back to Greece and Europe this season. I know he's been a Marseille flop and he did spend last season on loan at PSV, but technically he is still their player. Sevilla. Okay, completely bypassing Group D now. You know, the one with Liverpool, Ajax, Atlanta and FC Midfield. Weirdly, not a single player in any of those squads is facing a former club in that group. Anyway, onto Group E instead. And step forward, 23-year-old French centre-back, This guy began his career at Rennes, moved to Sevilla in 2018, barely played, got sent off in a pre-season friendly against Liverpool for kicking a teenage Yasser Laroussi into a stretcher. Oh yeah, that's a way to get yourself in the first team. Start beating up teenagers in pre-season friendlies. This was a friendly and he's tackling like a demented Dennis Wise. It's like turning up to a 9-year-old's birthday party and taking a dump on the cake. Anyway, he's currently stood at Sevilla after spending last season back on loan at Rennes and just happens to find himself in the same group as them. If he sticks opponents in the hospital during friendlies, then on Europe's biggest stage, he'd probably bring a chainsaw to the ground. Edouard, Mendy, Chelsea. Oh lads, if fans are allowed back into the stadiums for this game, Edouard Mendy should probably bring a helmet to the ground. Rennes were the team who rescued this goalkeeper's career. 4 years ago, he was warming the bench for Marseille's reserve team. Lads, last summer Rennes plucked him out of League 2 obscurity, gave him a chance, and within 33 games, he's jumped ship to Chelsea for £22 million. Rennes fans probably don't like being used as a goddamn stepping stone. They've given that club 2 of their goalies now. They saved Mendy from a career of French relegation battles, breathed air back into a dying career, and he dumps it within a year. Lads, the disrespect. Steven Nzonzi, Rennes. Yeah, there we have another Rennes player, 31-year-old Steven Nzonzi. You know, the guy who managed to fill a CV with Blackburn, Stoke, and still end up winning the World Cup. This guy, who was linked with Arsenal every summer for about half a decade, is currently on loan from Roma at Rennes and gets to face Sevilla, the club he left for Stoke in 2015, going on to play over 130 times for the Spanish club, winning the Europa League. It was his form there that got him into France's victorious World Cup squad, so he probably has fond memories of Sevilla. Thomas Meunier, Borussia Dortmund. Moving on to Group F now, which is arguably the easiest group in the entire competition. Anyway, Thomas Meunier, the 29-year-old Belgian right back who's just swapped PSG for Borussia Dortmund for less than a packet of quavers, he gets to return to Club Brugge, the club where he made his name. He spent 5 years there, initially playing as a striker, ended up just 2 games shy of 200 appearances, scored 19 goals, captained the club, and signed off with a league title win in 2016. He's probably delighted he gets to go back. Axel Witsel, Borussia Dortmund. Good old Axel Witsel, 31 now, and gets to make a return to Zenit St. Petersburg. You know, when he sold his soul to the devil back in 2012, completely ignoring genuine interest in European giants to wind up shoveling cash up his nostrils out in Russia. He spent 5 years there, played 180 times, won a league title in 2015. I'd imagine most Dortmund players probably view a midweek night game in Baltic Russia the same way they view a trip to the dentist. Witsel though, he's probably the only one who actually wants to go. Ciro Immobile, Lazio. Lads, Ciro Immobile has completely exploded out in Lazio. This guy with 126 goals in 180 games for Lazio. He finished Serie A top scorer age 30 or 36 strikes last season. He completely blew Ronaldo out of the water. Arguably one of the most underrated strikers in Europe. He's this generation's Luca Toni. Anyway, he spent 1 year at Dortmund back in 2014, and yeah, he scored 4 goals in 6 Champions League games, but back into the Bundesliga, he waddled about like a constipated duck. Just 3 goals all season. And this was the guy who would later outscore Ronaldo. Having been shoved on the bench with Ji Dong Wang and barely allowed to sniff Aubameyang's boots, he'll probably return to Dortmund with his chest puffed out and shoving his golden boot in everyone's face. He'll probably even want to let the canteen ladies know. Arthur Melo, Juventus. Oh lads, Arthur is this generation's Thiago Alcantara, isn't he? Another talented Brazilian midfielder, yes, Brazilian, casually tossed away by Barcelona. They're gonna regret this, aren't they? They'll probably even regret it this season. He's returning to the Nou Camp just 6 months after being flogged to Juventus for 70 million euros. Up against an aging Barcelona midfield, oh, Arthur's gonna absolutely mop the floor with his former club. Miralem, Pjanic, Barcelona. Why do I get the feeling Miralem Pjanic is about to be a massive flop? Barcelona are supposed to be steering away from signing the elderly. Do they realise Pjanic is already 30 years old? Anyway, it'll be stuffed in midfield in a battle of the guys trying to get one over their former employers. I get the feeling Pjanic is going to fail badly. Neto, Barcelona. Okay, yes, Neto is a former Juventus employee, but I doubt he even has a flicker of excitement at this Champions League draw. He's not going to play. He warmed the bench in Turin for 2 years. Now he's doing the same in Catalonia. Unless Marc-Andre ter Stegen trips over his cat and breaks his foot, then Neto is not going to play. So moving on, IR Karatin, Ferencváros. Still with Group G, and say hello to IR Karatin, a 25-year-old Ukrainian midfielder on the books of Hungarian club Ferencváros. You know, the team with Adam Bogdan in goal. Anyway, he actually began his career at Dynamo Kiev, spent 12 years on the books, and was only allowed to waddle onto the pitch once. In a direct battle for third spot in this group, Karatin is going to be frothing at the mouth to shove the doubts right back down the throats of his hometown club, who deemed him not good enough. Angel Di Maria, PSG. Angel Di Maria hates Man United. He just does. He he hasn't even attempted to hide it. Not only has his wife kept comparing the city of Manchester to an unflushed toilet, Di Maria himself admits he turns off the TV if they're ever on it. He'll probably love nothing more than scoring a match-winning goal at Old Trafford this season. Ander Herrera at PSG. Ander Herrera earns £400,000 a week at PSG. You know, the French Darren Fletcher? A year later, I'm still struggling to get my head around this contract. It's ludicrous. Anyway, this former Man United player was a fan favourite despite being a ridiculously bang-average midfield workhorse. He only won 4 pieces of silverware and didn't even get a sniff of a league title. Lads, what is all the fuss about? Anderson achieved more than him. John Kevin Augustin, RB Leipzig. Good old John Kevin Augustin. You might remember him from that failed loan spell at Leeds last season. Now he's back in the Champions League for some weird bizarre reason. On the books of RB Leipzig, he might get more of a chance this season now that his competition up front isn't Timo Werner, but instead just a Crystal Palace flop. Anyway, he did actually play over 30 games for PSG, scored just twice before they upgraded with Eric Choupo-Moting. Christ, he must be really bad. Christopher Nkunku, RB Leipzig. Yeah, just like Augustin, another RB Leipzig player who came from PSG. To be fair, this promising 22-year-old French midfielder, Christopher Nkunku, he did actually manage nearly 80 games for PSG, won nearly every trophy under the sun. He's probably delighted he gets the return. Rafael da Silva, Istanbul Basaksehir. And now finally, Rafael da Silva is probably dancing around his house. Sure, this guy is a right back who can't really defend, but he's an Old Trafford cult hero. 170 games, 3 league titles, a 2-time Champions League finalist. Anyway, at 30 and stuck out in Turkey with Istanbul Basaksehir, the collection dumped for past and former Premier League footballers, he finally gets to return to Old Trafford.
Back to where everything starts, dreams come true.
Yeah, great for him, but Christ above, his twin brother Fabio, stuck in boring French mid-table with nonce. He's gonna be like Hugo in the attic, steaming from the ears with jealousy. Anyway, that's it, lads. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.